Have you ever felt like no matter how much you try to change, you keep running into the same invisible barrier? Like there's something holding you back, something you can't quite name, but you feel its weight pressing down on you every time you try to break free. Most people assume that what limits them is external, their job, their circumstances, their past, but the most powerful prison isn't made of steel bars or locked doors. It's made of beliefs, fears, and thought patterns that dictate what you think is possible. And the worst part? You don't even realize you're trapped. Your mental prison is built over time, shaped by experiences, education, and the expectations of others. From a young age, you're taught what is acceptable, what is possible, and who you are supposed to be. Society hands you a script, and without questioning it, you start to live by it. This script tells you what success looks like, how you should behave, and what limitations you must accept. It defines what is realistic for you, based not on your potential, but on what others have decided. And as time goes on, you don't even see the script anymore. It becomes automatic. It becomes you. But here's the truth. Most of what you believe about yourself is just a reflection of the past, not an absolute reality. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated before taking action because a voice in your head told you that you're not capable, that you'll fail, or that it's just not meant for you? Where did that voice come from? Is it truly yours? Or is it an echo of something you were told years ago? This is how the prison operates. It convinces you that the walls are real when in fact they were built from nothing but thoughts, assumptions, and past experiences. To escape, you must first see the prison. Imagine that your mind is a vast landscape, full of open space and endless possibilities. But instead of exploring, you've been walking the same narrow path over and over again, believing it's the only way forward. The walls that seem to surround you, they're just well-worn trails of thought, patterns repeated so often that they feel like the only reality. But the moment you realize that this path isn't the only one, that there is a way beyond these mental walls, something shifts. You start to wonder, what if the beliefs that have shaped my life are just opinions I adopted without questioning? What if my limitations aren't real but self-imposed? What if I could redefine my reality simply by thinking differently? That's when the walls begin to crack. The first step to breaking free isn't about forcing change. It's about awareness. Until you become conscious of your mental conditioning, you'll keep making decisions based on invisible rules that don't serve you. This is why people repeat the same patterns in their careers, relationships, and personal struggles. They aren't failing because they lack ability. They're failing because they don't see the invisible rules that are guiding their actions. Now, take a moment to consider, what assumptions have you accepted as fact without ever questioning them? What beliefs about yourself or the world have you never truly examined? The moment you start questioning, the prison loses its power. But knowing that you're trapped isn't enough. You have to take action. Once you realize that the prison exists, the next step is to break the chains that keep you locked inside. But here's where most people get stuck. They recognize the limiting beliefs, the thought patterns that hold them back. But when they try to change, they feel resistance. That resistance isn't random. It's your mind protecting itself. Your brain is wired for survival, not transformation. It prefers familiarity over the unknown, even if that familiarity is keeping you trapped. This is why people stay in toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, or cycles of self-doubt. Even pain, when familiar, can feel safer than freedom. So how do you override this built-in resistance? It starts with understanding one simple truth. The walls of your mental prison are made of fear, and fear only has power when left unchallenged. Think about something that's been holding you back, a fear, a hesitation, an excuse you keep repeating. What if, instead of avoiding it, you walked straight toward it? Most fears are like shadows on a wall. They appear huge and overwhelming from a distance, but the closer you get, the more you realize they have no real substance. The moment you confront them, they start to dissolve. But breaking free isn't just about facing fear. It's about rewiring the way you think. Consider this. Every belief you hold about yourself, about success, about what's possible, was formed at some point in your life. You weren't born with these ideas. You absorbed them from parents, teachers, culture, experiences, which means they can be rewritten. To escape your mental prison, you must challenge and replace the thoughts that keep you trapped. Let's take an example. Suppose you believe, deep down, that you're not good enough to achieve a certain goal. Where did that belief come from? Was it something someone told you? A past failure? A comparison to someone else? Now ask yourself, is it fact or just a story you've accepted? When you start to see these beliefs for what they are, just stories, not absolute truths, you create space for something new. Instead of saying I'm not good enough, replace it with I am in the process of becoming the person who can. Instead of thinking I'll fail, try failure is just feedback. I can adjust and keep going. These small shifts may seem insignificant, but they are mental crowbars, prying open the locked doors in your mind. Another key to breaking the chains is changing your environment, your surroundings, the people you interact with, the content you consume. All of it reinforces certain thought patterns. If you're constantly around negativity, doubt, or limiting perspectives, your mind will reflect that. But if you start exposing yourself to new ideas, inspiring people, and challenges that push your limits, your thinking will expand. You will begin to see new possibilities, and possibilities are the antidote to feeling trapped. This is why people who travel, meet different kinds of people, or immerse themselves in new experiences often undergo radical transformations. They step outside their normal reality and realize how much bigger the world is than they ever imagined. So, ask yourself, what influences are shaping my thoughts right now? Do they reinforce limitation or expansion? What new influences can I introduce to shift my perspective? Breaking the chains of your mind is not a one-time event. It's a process, a constant practice of noticing, challenging, and reshaping the way you think. But the more you do it, the more the walls start to crumble. Breaking free from your mental prison is only the beginning. Once the walls start to crumble, you're left with something even more terrifying, the vast unknown. For most people, this is where they turn back. The comfort of familiarity, even if it was limiting, feels safer than the uncertainty of an open world. This is why so many who glimpse freedom retreat back into old patterns. But if you want true transformation, you must learn how to navigate the space beyond the prison. This stage is uncomfortable because your old identity no longer fits, but the new one isn't fully formed yet. You're in between, and this liminal space feels disorienting. The rules you once followed no longer apply, but new ones haven't yet emerged. This is where fear tries to pull you back. It tells you that if you step too far, you'll fall. That if you let go of your old beliefs, you'll have nothing left. That if you leave behind the familiar, you'll be lost. But here's the truth. This uncertainty isn't a threat. It's an invitation. Think of it like standing on the edge of a cliff, staring at the open sky, afraid to jump because you can't see the ground below. But what if you had wings all along? What if the only way to know your full potential is to step off the edge? This is why so many great thinkers, creators, and visionaries embraced discomfort. They knew that stepping into the unknown was the only way to discover what they were truly capable of. So how do you navigate this space without falling back into old patterns? The first step is to embrace not knowing. Most people are addicted to certainty. They want clear answers, guaranteed outcomes, a roadmap that tells them exactly what to do next. But the greatest transformations happen when you let go of that need and start trusting yourself to figure things out as you go. Instead of seeking security, lean into curiosity. Instead of demanding certainty, embrace the idea that the best things in life come from exploration. Ask yourself, what if I don't need all the answers right now? What if figuring it out along the way is part of the process? What if uncertainty isn't the enemy, but the birthplace of all possibility? This shift in perspective turns fear into excitement. The unknown stops feeling like a void and starts feeling like a blank canvas, a space where you can create something entirely new. Another key to navigating the unknown is detaching from your old identity. The person you were inside the prison had certain habits, fears, and limitations, but that version of you doesn't have to exist outside of it. You are not bound by your past. You are not obligated to be who you were yesterday. This means giving yourself permission to change. If you used to be hesitant, you can become bold. If you used to be afraid, you can choose courage. If you used to believe you weren't enough, you can decide to rewrite that story. Too often we hold onto outdated versions of ourselves because they feel familiar, but real growth requires letting go of who you were to become who you're meant to be. This can feel like loss, like shedding layers of an old self, but that's exactly what transformation is. It's the process of stripping away what no longer serves you, so you can step fully into who you were always meant to be. This process will challenge you. You'll feel resistance. Your mind will try to trick you into going back. But every time you choose growth over comfort, you reinforce your new reality. One of the most powerful ways to make this shift permanent is to take action before you feel ready. The mistake most people make is waiting. They wait until they feel confident, until they feel sure, until they feel like the new version of themselves is fully formed. But here's the paradox. You don't become confident first. You take action, and confidence follows. The more you act as the person you want to become, the more real that version of you becomes. If you want to be bold, take a bold action. If you want to be fearless, do the thing that scares you. If you want to change your life, make a decision today, no matter how small, that moves you in that direction. This is how transformation happens, not in an instant, but through small, deliberate choices that accumulate over time. And with each step forward, the prison behind you fades. Breaking free from your mental prison is a powerful transformation, but here's the hard truth. Freedom isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice. Many people experience a breakthrough, feel the weight of their old limitations fall away, and for a brief moment, they taste true liberation. But then, slowly, without even realizing it, they slip back into their old patterns. The walls may have collapsed, but the mind still remembers the prison. So what? Why does this happen? Because the prison wasn't just external, it was internal. It wasn't just built from circumstances, it was built from habits, beliefs, and a lifetime of conditioning. And unless you actively reinforce your new reality, the old one will pull you back in. So how do you make your freedom permanent? The first key is awareness. Freedom doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It doesn't mean old doubts won't creep back in. But the difference now is that you can see them for what they are. Echoes of a past self that no longer defines you. When those old voices whisper, recognize them. You're not good enough. That's the voice of the prison, not reality. You're going to fail. That's fear trying to keep you small. You should go back to what's familiar. That's comfort, not growth. Once you become aware of these mental traps, they lose their power. You don't have to believe them. You don't have to obey them. Instead, you can choose a new response, one that aligns with the person you've become. The second key is building an environment that supports your growth. You didn't build your old mental prison alone. It was reinforced by the people around you, by the content you consumed, by the habits you practiced daily. If you want to stay free, you must be intentional about shaping your environment. Ask yourself, who do I spend time with? Do they inspire growth or keep me stuck? What do I consume? Do the books, media, and ideas I engage with challenge me or reinforce old limitations? How do I spend my time? Do my daily habits reflect the person I want to become? Freedom isn't just about breaking old chains, it's about creating a life where you never need them again. Surround yourself with people who push you forward. Immerse yourself in ideas that expand your mind and build habits that reinforce your new reality. The third key is taking responsibility for your own life. Inside the prison, it was easy to blame external factors, to say, this is just how life is, to feel powerless. But once you break free, there's no one left to blame. You are in control. This is both liberating and terrifying, because it means if you're unhappy, it's up to you to change it. If you're stuck, it's up to you to move forward. If you fall back into old patterns, no one else is responsible but you. This level of responsibility is what truly separates those who stay free from those who return to the prison. Many people escape their mental limits only to seek a new form of captivity. Whether it's a rigid belief system, a toxic relationship, or another form of external validation, they replace one cage with another. But true freedom means owning your choices, thinking for yourself, and never outsourcing your power again. And finally, the key to never going back is growth. The mind, like the body, adapts to what it's given. If you stop challenging yourself, if you stop expanding, the old patterns will creep back in. This is why people who are stagnant in life often feel trapped again, because they have stopped growing. So keep learning, keep evolving, keep pushing your own limits. Freedom is not a destination, it's a lifelong journey. It's a choice you make every day. You are no longer the prisoner, you are the architect of your own mind, the builder of your own life. And now, the question is, what will you do with this freedom?